Here we are to part two. Sorry, I'm having trouble keeping her arms there. Here we are to part two. We talked about what I've gone through, the loss of Caitlin. Not that she died. Maybe that infant that was taken from me felt like a death. But she's alive and well, living her life. But I've never lost that connection to that precious baby that I raised as my very own daughter. Along comes another tragedy in my life later on. I decided, after being a nanny and running daycares for 20 years, that I wanted to have my own child. And I knew I would be able to raise my own child. So I got a donor that I knew in person who was willing to stay in the child's life so she would know, or he would know, who her father was, because that was extremely important to me. I went to have my first cycle, which is another form for insemination, is called cycle, which is all done medically. I had 2 cycles at that month time. They were concerned about how low the line was compared to the month before on my ovulation test. So they decided, before I went through another cycle, that they were going to run an ultrasound. And that ultrasound found a 30 centimeter cyst all the way around, 30 centimeters, growing off one of my ovaries, pushing my liver out of place and soon to attach to my other ovary. They were concerned that I had cancer. And being that I had just lost a dog to cancer 2 weeks before my surgery, that was all that I could think about. Worried, who's going to take care of my autistic mentally ill sister? Who's going to take care of my dogs? And who was going to be there for my mom? They thought the best decision for my life was a full hysterectomy. They said that these are going to happen again and again and again. I didn't want to bring a child into the world if the child was just going to lose their mother, or if I had to make a heartbreaking decision between my life or my child's life if I was in that situation again. So I agreed, with a full broken heart, that I had to do the hysterectomy. My surgery was posted as soon as possible. Usually there's months and months and months of wait. But they looked at my surgery as a life-saving operation because of the size of the cyst, and if it would have burst, it would have put me at great risk of severe infection, causing shock to my body. I remember lying there in the hospital bed before they brought me in the operating room, knowing that this surgery was the loss of any child I were to have. It felt like another loss. Loss of Caitlin, and now loss of my own biological child. I didn't know how to connect to that pain. I didn't know how to compare it because I didn't lose a physical child this time. I lost the children I dreamed of having someday. I was broken inside. My sister was placed in the hospital during my surgery because she could not mentally cope with the fact that she could lose her sister. A surgery is always very high risk for me. I had my surgery. There were a lot of complications. I had internal bleeding, which I had blood transfusions on the first day and the second day that saved my life after I had a cold flu. I'm very grateful to the nurses and doctors who saved my life. I had a laparotomy incision, so I was cut all the way down my stomach because I had to go through all my organs, my colon, and make sure that there was no signs of cancer and that all the organs were placed properly where they should have been, that the cysts had moved out of place. Very grateful to everyone and all their hard work and the fact that I did not have cancer. Not everyone has that blessing. It was hard for me to be angry because I felt like I was being selfish because I didn't have cancer. I was alive. But I didn't have my lifelong dream of being a mother. So I looked in, how can I make this a possibility? So my best friend offered to carry a baby for me. But we couldn't afford the lawyer fees. It cost as much as a brand new car. I looked into fostering. I was denied due to attachment issues. I had no way to be a mother. I had all this love in my heart, all this education of childcare, a lot of patience and strength with children, working in children's ministry, always wanting to be around children my entire life since I was a young child. I have great love in my heart for children and animals. People say get a dog. I have dogs. But I don't want to force my dog to do something they don't want to do because I'm feeling empty, because I feel the need to be maternal to an infant, baby, or a child. So my psychiatrist suggested reborn therapy. I didn't think it was going to work because I worked with real children. I said, okay. Got a custom-made reborn to look like the child that I always dreamt of. It was truly amazing how she affected my life. But as time went on, I started to notice things that weren't so realistic, that were bothering me. I thought when I saw the silicones that would be a better fit. But I knew I couldn't afford one. As one that's not even painted, it cost me over $2,000. I didn't have that kind of money. But I was grateful to have the reborn that I had, because many people can't even get vinyl, authentic reborns. But I still felt quite empty inside. Till this little girl, Ella, my full body silicone doll, sculpted by Ina Volpridge, came into my life. That, my friends, is part 3.